beautiful. That's
brand new.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
My sister has invited me to a costume party and has suggested that I bring Claudia as my date.
And now the tops are just $5.44. The shorts only $4. These lovely dressy blouses have been reduced to just $8.44. And our men's Oxford button-down dress shirts are a special value at only $7.88.
I filmed Dee and Steve.
Before my date, I have dinner with my father and stepmother.
6 kids. Count them. Could put us into bed.
I filmed them, Dee washing her dog. And I filmed Steve going to a music company where he used to work.
There. Now, how is that going to be useful?
In this film? You just have to
wait. Film.
Are you ready to go? You are? Okay, let's go.
Wait, let me get some apple juice.
Hey, speaking of apple juice, do we have any bourbon?
Let me see. Perhaps.
We're going to bring the judges back after the deliberations to announce the winners of the costume contest.
Test 1, 2. I had a great time at the costume ball with Claudia. I have to be quiet, though, because my father's asleep upstairs, and, you know, I think he already has enough questions about the validity of my film project without seeing me dressed up like this, talking to my own camera. So I have to be quiet. Tonight I have to decide also whether I'm going to stay here in Charlotte or continue to retrace Sherman's route through the South as I'd originally planned to do. I mean, I could stay here in Charlotte and spend some time filming my sister, film Claudia, get to know Claudia better. She could teach me to roller skate. I mean, I like Claudia, and I'm infatuated with Pat Rendleman, and I guess in many ways I'm still in love with Anne, the woman up in New York. It's all very confusing to me. I don't know what to do right now. Actually, I think I should really continue to retrace Sherman's route through the South. I think that's a good idea. I mean, I'm really intrigued by William Tecumseh Sherman. I think he's one of history's tragic figures. I mean, you have the irony of this man who, you know, spent 4 years in Charleston, South Carolina, and called those years the best years of his life. Later spent time in New Orleans, loved the South, loved the people of the South. And then, during the Civil War, was ordered to wage war against the South. And not just, you know, conventional warfare, as it was practiced at that time, but total warfare against a civilian population. He fought it very well, and was thought generally to be ruthless and cruel and totally unkind. But what people don't realize was that Sherman was actually very insecure. He was plagued by anxiety, by insomnia. He wrote to his brother about how he thought he contemplated suicide. But somehow, despite all of these fallibilities, Sherman waged war brilliantly against the South and brought the South to its knees. So then, what did he do? He offered the South exceedingly generous terms of surrender. You know, frankly, much more generous than the South deserved. And what did this get him? William Stanton, the Secretary of State at that time, publicly rebuked Sherman and rescinded the terms of his surrender, the terms of surrender that he had granted to the South. Humiliated Sherman. The papers of the North, the politicians in the North branded Sherman incompetent and a traitor. So here you have this man who was reviled in the South, hated in the South. He still is today. I can't talk about him around here. And yet, also rebuked in the North, despite his victory. And Sherman retired from the Army and vowed never to set foot in Washington, D.C. again, and went back to his native Ohio. He's a very, very tragic figure, William Tecumseh Sherman.
I decided to resume filming along Sherman's route, and I dropped by to say goodbye to Claudia, but she's not home. The car runs beautifully. That is, until I get about 40 miles outside of Atlanta, where the headlights suddenly go out, followed by the fuel pump, the ignition, and the battery.
Now, if you had a pair of pliers, I'd put one right here and I'd put one right there and I'd hold it in my hand. I'll tell you what, I bet you that sun gun wouldn't even light up like a lightning bug spinning. But there ain't no power in it.
With a brand new one.
Slam dead.
Right
That's what I'm saying. You got a damn good battery, good set of cables to put the fire into it, it'll crank it.
I was stranded in Adrian, Georgia. There was one service station in town, but it was closed, and there were no motels or boarding houses.
This is your room here for tonight. We have 2 beds. You're going to be sleeping on this one, or either one you'd like to sleep on.
All right.
We have a bathroom facility here. You have a sink. Now, there's your book down there to read.
They've left the Bible for me on my bed.
Just be doubling our cars. Stay on the lookout for 4 escapees from the Women's Correctional Institute in Milledgeville. 4 escapees, Women's Correctional Institute in Milledgeville. Subjects, all 4 subjects will be white females, 17 to 20 years of age. All were last seen wearing blue jean shorts, white t-shirts, and tennis shoes.
I finally fall asleep around 3 in the morning and dream not of nuclear war, but that I've been captured and held hostage by 4 female escapees in white t-shirts and cut-off jeans.
Let me look at this thing.
All right.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
What's that leaking out? Water?
That's just water from that radiator hose. If you start looking, you can find a lot of things that need to be worked on. Don't look too hard.
Off the coast of Savannah, Georgia, there's an island named Ossabaw, and in 1864, federal gunboats anchored off Ossabaw Sound and successfully blockaded Savannah, enabling Sherman to capture the town. The island isn't open to the public, but I've applied for permission to do more of my historical research.